Welcome back to another episode on Coffee with Craner. We have our cups here. Some mornings are rough, but we'll get through it. And I hope everyone's having a great day. It's gorgeous outside. I heard there's snow. Oh, and Mickey Mouse as well. But yes, so today I have Donald McArthur. He is a Amherstburg politician. He's been a councillor for almost 2 years now. He's also the communications coordinator at County of Essex. And also he was a previous reporter for the Windsor Star and the executive producer at CBC Windsor. So we're glad to have him here. He's definitely been so involved in the Amherstburg community and Windsor, Essex. I know he's been at some of the events I've helped out with, and it's great to have him on the show. And hopefully today he can provide some advice for those watching that are either looking to get more involved in their community and take a lead, or they're looking to do a career as a politician. So he's going to provide some advice today, and thank you for joining us.
Well, you're welcome, Lyndon. Thank you for having me. I've been watching your coffee chats. I got it on the ground floor, watched the one with Vincent Georgie. Very good. And for everyone out there, aspiring to be something, do what Lyndon does. That's the advice I would give you.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much. And at the very beginning of every show, I ask a question relating to coffee. Where in Amherstburg do you normally grab a cup of joe?
It would be Tim's. I mean, I really like, Caffeine and Company, go in there, sit there with my laptop, nice view of the water, this and that.
Oh, yeah.
But most times it's quick with Tim's. But truth be told, out of all of them, it's Starbucks. I worked at Starbucks in my early 20s, and I developed quite an addiction to their kind of coffee. And so whenever I can, if I have my choice, it will be Starbucks.
Perfect. Nice and simple. And Caffeine and Company is definitely great. It's one of Amherstburg's top caffeine places, so definitely check that out. But the first question I wanted to ask you today was, how do you define community leadership?
Okay. Well, I think one of the things that I try to do, and I think what's really important, and I've seen it in sort of the leaders that I look up to, is you have to lead by example, and you have to be a community champion. You have to take every opportunity you have when you're talking to people, when you're on social media, when you're talking to the paper, to promote the town, right? And it's so important to make a positive impact and sort of inspire and engage people and get them involved in the process. We want people to live here. We want people to open businesses in Amherstburg. We certainly want people to come here and visit once this pandemic passes. And I think every positive tweet we put out there, every positive story, every positive TikTok, get the young folks, puts us on the map as a desirable place to live, to visit and to set up a business. And it's people that make a great community. We have great people, and I think we need more of them in terms of making it more of an affordable place to live with all kinds of amenities that people need to raise young families.
I think that. Yeah, that's perfect. I think it is definitely being a leader virtually and in person as well. And you're definitely doing a great job. And how I found out about Donald McArthur was when he was doing his campaigning, he would post photos or ads on Instagram and Facebook, and he would be running or biking to each house to knock on doors, right? So I found that very inspiring. One, because it was eco-friendly, and two, because he was actually staying active, and he was trying to meet as many people as he can on a bike, right? So that's how I first found out about Donald McArthur, and we kind of went from there. And now he's a town councillor. He's been almost 2 years now as a town councillor. So I wanted to ask you, why did you choose to run for town council?
Well, first of all, on the bike, thank you. That makes me happy. And you reached out, to me for coffee, and it was great. Caffeine and Co. You actually, we pushed it to the limit, and I had to go to the church for that event, and you saw me there, and you gave me a ride. So one thing I didn't mention that I think is very crucial to leadership is showing up. You know what I mean? Like there's lots of counselors, not in this town, but in theory, that you can phone it in. You can go to your meetings, you can get the job done, you can call it a day. But what's the fun in that, right? I think it's, for me, the most fun of the job is going to all of these town events going to the Amherstburg Food and Fellowship Mission, for a cup of Tim's chili, heading out on Saturday to Miracle League, to see if you can pitch in how you can, because that makes you feel good, and it makes them feel good, because you're sort of bringing, you're showing them that their organizations are community pillars, and they have great value. And it's just so much fun. That's how you learn about your community, and I think that's how you support your community. So I think showing up is crucial. And I guess that kind of, answers, sort of leads into the second question as well, in that I was a journalist for so long. And news doesn't break out in the newsroom. You know what I mean? So if you want to get to know your community, if you want to tell a story, you have to show up. You have to go there. And so I did that for so long as a journalist. But the thing about being a journalist is you can't take sides. You have to be unbiased. You're actually trained, not to have an opinion, to be objective and dispassionate and to tell both sides of the story. And you can't run for office when you're a journalist. I covered council, for about 20 years. The city of Windsor. I actually covered Amherstburg Council when I was a cub reporter for the Star back in '99. And you can't run for office. You can't really even delegate, before council, because you have to sort of be above the fray and be dispassionate and objective. So suddenly, shortly before the election, I wasn't a journalist anymore. I had moved on. And for the first time in my life, as an adult, I had the opportunity to run for office. It's something I had been surrounded by as a reporter. So it intrigued me. I'd watch these folks in action and I always thought, boy, I think maybe I could do it a little bit better. I don't know. It is a little tougher than it looks when you're just sitting there watching. But journalism is a public service, and I think what we've seen lately with newspapers closing in Essex County, that's very sad. It's a very sad thing. Thanks to Ron of the RTT for doing all that he does. But journalism, make no mistake, is a public service. So I've always had that in my blood, to sort of speak for the disenfranchised and to try to connect with people. And, politics was another mechanism, another form of public service that has much in common with journalism in terms of getting up to speed on the issues, speaking to them and meeting a wide variety of people. So it was kind of in the wheelhouse. I didn't think I was going to win. I did not think I was going to win. I'd never run before. There's no street in this town named McArthur, so I don't have, great grandparents who lived here. But I ran, and it was one of the most exhilarating, rewarding experiences of my life. I met so many cool people, and I had so much fun. And I've never been thinner, I don't think, because I kept my running streak going, and I was riding the bike down those concession roads. And I look back on photos, and man, I wish I could be that thin again.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you're able to be in this role now, and you can really voice your opinion. And you can speak for the public. So I think it's great, and I think you've been doing one heck of a job as a councillor so far in your term. But with every position, there's always challenges. So what are some challenges that you face as a politician, and how do you overcome it?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges is you learn pretty quick that you can't please everybody. As a journalist, you always sort of knew you were doing your job right when you didn't please anybody. When both sides sort of hated you equally, that's when you knew you were doing it right. With politics, it's different because you can't go down the middle. You have to, at the end of the day, you got to cast your vote. It's A or nay. So you have to take a stand. And that's an adjustment for me because, as I said, 20 years, you're trained not to take a position, to see both sides of the issue. I wrote editorials for the Windsor Star for a long time. And I found the best ones that I wrote were when I had to sort of argue in favor of a position I didn't agree with, because I knew, the other side of the argument. So I knew sort of, its weak points. So I'm still sort of trained to think that way. And I'm smart enough to know I don't know everything. And, that you can make mistakes and that you can get things wrong. And so I don't sort of deal in absolutes that way. So, but when you cast your vote, it is an absolute, and you have to take a stand. And so that's been an adjustment. One, I'm getting used to, and I think I'm getting better at it. I'm being firm and also understanding that you just can't please everybody all the time. And it's tough because you want to please everybody all the time. You like most people, or I like most people. And, and B, it's in your political self-interest to try to please everybody, but it can't be done, and it's not the right thing to do, because you have a fiduciary duty to the corporation, to the town, to do what's best for the entire corporation, for all of the taxpayers, and it might not necessarily be what's in the best interest of someone that has a hard luck case. So it's tough sometimes, because we all want to help people as much as possible, but sometimes you have to make hard decisions.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And you can't please everybody. You have to please the most, a majority. That's your goal, right? So I think you're doing a great job with that. And there's always going to be haters out there. So it's important on how to make them know that you're doing it for everyone's best interest, right? There's not a point where you're going to be able to please everyone. So I think you made a great point on that. So thank you for that.
Well, and absolutely too. And at the end of the day, like, you got to look at yourself in the mirror, right? So if you do what's right, if you do the research, and you make the best decision you can, I mean, that's really all you got. Make the best decision you can. Put in the legwork. Like Abraham Lincoln, I think it's apocryphal, but I use this quote to live by. He said something like, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 6 sharpening an axe, right? So do the homework, make the decision, and let the chips fall where they may. But as long as you do the work, you can look at yourself in the mirror and move on. Exactly.
So as a councillor or any politician or political position, it's important to have an active voice. Why do you think it's so important? And especially for you, why is it important to have that active voice in the community?
Well, I think when you're a councillor or a politician, you have a very privileged position to speak for people who otherwise might not have a voice. To get them answers, to address their concerns, and to amplify their voice. One of the things, like I said, I really like going to all of these charity events, nonprofits, all the community pillars, and celebrating them on social media, donating where I can, going to their chili fundraisers, this and that. Other councillors, they do it as well, as does the mayor and deputy mayor. And I think that's important, because you're sort of recognizing their positive impact in the community. Also, if you don't vote, you can't complain. So it's very important. You can't, at the end of the day, if something doesn't go your way and you didn't say anything, well, you don't really have a leg to stand on, and you can't complain. So, speak your truth, speak it proudly, and there you go. So I've tried to do that. I have a blog and a website. I post my voting record online. I try to celebrate, some achievements of the community, and explain some decisions, that council has made. Because it's very important now, with the decline of the traditional media, they don't come to our meetings all the time anymore. So residents aren't always getting all of the information that, in all of the facts that happen at council. The RTT can only cover so much, and he does a fantastic job, Ron does. But it's very important for, I think, councillors and for the town to tell our own story. We have the tools. Look at you. You're live streaming like you're CNN, right? So there's all these digital tools now that we can use to connect to people, and just with a little duct tape and bubble gum and some legwork, we can all, share really positive stories about the town.
Yeah, and if you're curious, at the bottom here, it's DonaldMcArthur.com. He's posting all of a lot of news stories in the town, great stories. He's really showcasing all the great things that happen in Amherstburg. So if you're looking to see his active voice online, check out DonaldMcArthur.com. You'll definitely won't miss it. But yeah, that's a great way that you're taking your voice online. I mean, you're great on Twitter. You're always posting different things in the community, positivity. And I think it's important that if you are a politician to have that online presence, right? And you're doing a heck of a job with that. So what would be
trying to live up to the standard you're setting?
I'm learning from you, so I appreciate that. But for people my age, or any age really, what are some ways that emerging leaders can get involved, whether it be in Amherstburg or other communities?
Well, I mean, I guess firstly, just broadly, to folks out there who, you're in your 20s, man, and I wasn't anywhere near what, I wasn't even there in my 30s. So there's people in their 20s that might not know what they want to do with their lives yet, and they don't have it all figured out. Man, that's okay. You know what I mean? I didn't go to journalism school until I was 28, right? So you have a lot of time to figure that out. But really, is you have. This is so cliche, but it's so true. Is you have to, find what you love, and you have to practice it and work so hard until you get better at it. Whether it's guitar, whether it's golf, whatever it is, just find what you love, focus on it, and get better. And that's going to take you to some extraordinary places. In terms of politics and connecting, they can follow the example of you do, which is reaching out to people. That's how we met. You messaged me, said, let's have a coffee, and boom, now we have this great relationship, right? That just took one phone call from you, to make happen. So they should do that. They should find a mentor. They should read. Absolutely, they should read. If they're interested in politics, they can go. There's all kinds of levels they can get involved in and volunteer on campaigns. They can go to council meetings. All of that, if that's what they want to pursue. But I would strongly encourage them out of the gate, don't go into politics. You get some grounding in something, whether it's political science and history, if you're into science, if it's English, creative writing, whatever it is, you want to have a broad-based knowledge, I think is going to serve you well. And then you can specialize, a little bit down the road when you get a little bit older. And I also think people really need to establish a digital presence. I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram, TikTok, but I don't really understand how to use it. And so are you. Like, my phone was blowing up this morning because you were advancing. You're on LinkedIn, you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, Instagram stories, Facebook stories, and that's fantastic. And you have to do that. You got to put hooks in the water if you want to connect with people, if you want to get your message out there. So I think that young people should really establish a digital presence, and it's very important. It's going to grow increasingly important, I think, and it's up to them to tell their own stories, to write their own stories.
That's exactly it. We had a question here that came up in the comments, and it says, it's a bit long. I don't know if it'll cover our faces. It says, since Windsor Police has taken over services for Amherstburg, what are your thoughts on the level of services provided, and can you foresee any future amalgamations, I probably pronounced that wrong, with other Windsor services in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to Windsor Police, I think our service is fine. I think service levels have improved from what I've seen. There's radar traps all over town. I see cruisers all the time. There's high visibility policing. They had these sessions, sort of strategic planning sessions a few months ago, and they came to the Libro. Dave DeLuca was there, who's head of an Amherstburg guy, who's head of the force in Amherstburg. And he talked about all the things they were doing in terms of their COAST program, which is dealing with mental health issues in the community, and follow-ups to help these people that ordinarily fall through the cracks, and get into trouble, to get them the supports that they need. Those numbers were up. They were doing great work there. And as I said, of course, the traffic and the radar stops, they seem to be very high visibility. There was one time I went for a long run on a Saturday, and I saw 3 police cruisers, after I thought maybe it's, he was just thought it looked suspicious, and he was kind of chasing me around. But so I think they're there, and I think they've done well, and there's savings, right? There's savings there that can be used to lower the tax rate.
Do you
the next question is a little bit trickier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll get that now. So, foresee any more amalgamations with Windsor? I mean, that's a tricky question. I think that right now the town just received a $200,000 grant, a municipal modernization grant from the province of Ontario, and we've spent some of that to hire like a consultant group to come in to talk to councillors, to talk to town staff, to look at town operations, to see where savings can be reached, to see where we can be more efficient, to see where there are opportunities for shared services, not only with Windsor, but potentially with other Essex County municipalities. There's 7 of them, including us. And so I spoke with them actually today, and maybe by the summer we could get something that, who knows, but something's going to come back, and we can have a soak on it and talk about it, about the town. The flip side of it is that Amherstburg is fiercely proud Do you know what I mean? I think that was part of the issue with the police service, is that nobody wants to be part of Windsor. We're Amherstburg, right? We've been Amherstburg, for over 200 years. And we're very, very proud of that. And, we have our fire service, and at least the cars now with the police, they have the muskets on them. So, any talk of greater regionalization and shared services has to, of course, be balanced with the fact that we're Amherstburg. We want to remain Amherstburg. We're the best place in Essex County in Ontario to live. And we like the fact that we can vote for our own leaders, and that we have our own services. But I think with this grant money that we got, to the question, we're looking at everything at Town Hall to see how we can best deliver these services to residents. So let's see what they come up with, and then let's have a nice, fulsome community debate about how to take this town forward in a way that's the best for everybody.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I hope that answers your question, Paul. I appreciate jumping in and putting your question in the comments. We did have another one here. It's actually my grandma. She says, what would you like to get accomplished for this town during your time on council?
Well, that's a good question. One of the big things that I want to get done is near where I live in McGregor, there's sidewalks. I'm a big believer in sort of active transportation and biking and running, as Lyndon talked about. And I think there's big gaps right now in Amherstburg's recreational infrastructure system that we have to shore up. And I think this pandemic has really underscored that fact, because we're blessed in Essex County right now and Amherstburg that you can go out and we have these trails. And, for so long, we've just built destination parks. You're going to go to the park, you're going to hang out in the park, you're going to play in the park. Well, we've suddenly, with this pandemic, we've seen the folly of that, in a sense, because those parks are all closed. We can't access them. And even if we get a vaccine, it might be some time. So I think it's really underscored the importance of having, parks that people can flow through and that are connected to one another. And, where I live, it's in the 5-year capital plan out in McGregor. We need sidewalks on Middle Side Road to link the 2 subdivisions there to the Greenway Trail, because right now it's a bit of a death trap. I mean, so kids can't get to parks, they can't get to the trail. So I think that needs to change. I think that's important. We already did it in cooperation with CWAS. We're going to get paved shoulders on Alma this year, and that will then allow people from McGregor to get on the Greenway Trail and get all the way sort of to Libro or downtown on a trail. So I think that's definitely something that I want to accomplish. The other thing we absolutely have to get is the residents pay for everything in this town. They do. It's over 85%. It all comes from residents, because we lack that industrial tax base. And we need to get that back. We definitely need to get that back, because residents can't pay for everything. So I'm on the Economic Development Committee. Before the pandemic struck, we were working through sort of a strategic plan for where we wanted to go and how we were going to get there. And one of the key linchpins, of course, is the former General Chemical site. Again, right before the pandemic, the province of Ontario had a big sites challenge. And they were looking at municipalities saying, give us your pitches for places that were big plots of land, serviceable land with access to rail and marine. And we brought forward the General Chemical site and sort of 2 others in town, and said, look, we need industrial development. We have a diversified, highly skilled workforce in this area. We have access to the border. They're building the Gordie Howe Bridge. I mean, we can be a player in logistics, in cargo, in transportation, and that's probably been shelved now in terms of because of the pandemic. But we can't lose sight of the fact that residents can't pay for everything, and we need industrial development. So I would like to see that as well. And a high school, right? We have to fix this. Right now, we don't have baseball diamonds. The kids can play at Centennial Park, the basketball courts, the tennis courts. They sort of fall into disarray there because the high school is going to go there. So we need to solve that problem. Again, it's going to be tricky because it's not all up to us in terms of when are they going to build the school, when is the money going to flow to the school board from the province. But that's a big, unknown right now that we have to solve. There's no pool for the kids. right now, and everything kind of has got delayed from this pandemic. But we can't lose sight of the fact that we're losing amenities with that school, with what's happening there at Centennial Park, and we need to restore them because we need amenities for kids, we need amenities for families, and we need industrial development, as I said, to bring jobs and property taxes. Thank you for the question, Lyndon's grandma.
Awesome. I hope that answers your question there. She has another question. We'll get back to that at the end if we have time here. But I wanted to ask, what would be some advice you could provide to those considering a career in politics?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of touched on this already. I think get a well-rounded education. Find your mentors. Read. If you want to get good at anything, you just have to practice, right? It doesn't matter what it is. So whatever, you shore up your weaknesses, learn how to public speak, but above all, be engaged in your community. Don't phone it in. Show up at events, volunteer for events, go to council meetings, get involved, phone your councillor or email your councillor. You have every right to do it. You don't have to be 55 to reach out to a councillor or to have an opinion. You can vote if you're 18, so you can start even younger than that if you want, but for sure when you're 18, get involved, vote, make sure that your voice is heard, and make a difference, because you only get one go round, in this life, and you want to do it right.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's something I'm going to definitely take to heart too, if I ever want to go into politics in the future. And I hope that helps anyone watching that is considering that. So my grandma has another question here. Being a senior citizen soon, you're not a day over 25, grandma. I would like to see a nice high rise where the Anderton Tavern was. Do you see this as a possibility?
I'm not sure, about that location, in terms of putting a high rise there. I do believe that the town has to cater to the seniors community. We're building sort of a seniors community hub at St. Bernard, right by Centennial Park. There's supposed to be, we had given conditional approval for a sale of a portion of that land for a long-term care home that would bring jobs. It would create sort of a real, hub for seniors. There's no real place right now. I mean, the Fort Malden, club, they play over at, they play their cards, right now at the Libro, is pretty cool. But it would be nice if there was like a nice drop-in center for seniors. And I think that's sort of the vision for that hub, because we are getting older. Amherstburg, we are getting older, and even knocking on doors during the campaign, when you go in the areas where the condos are, it's quite clear there's not families for the most part that are living there. They're retirees, seniors, and that presents so many opportunities in terms of catering to the active aging population. But there's also some risks there as well, in terms of they have fixed incomes, so you have to be very smart with your budgets and your tax dollars. And they're not families, right? So it's fewer people, but we're growing, we're getting older, and I do believe we have to cater to seniors. In terms of a high rise right where the Anderton Tavern, I can get back to you on that answer. I would have to look into it a bit more, but definitely I'm in favor of development and development for seniors.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for asking that, Grandma. I appreciate it. I hope that helps. And I really appreciate you, Donald, for jumping on here today and taking some time to talk to people watching and hopefully inspire other people to take a lead in their community, because it's so important. And I think for me, I think of it as my civic duty is to give back to the community where I've grown up, right? So it's so important to volunteer, get involved, and everything like that. So Donald, is there any last things you would like to share with anyone watching today at all?
No, I guess, just that these are fairly strange times that we're all living through right now. And I just, I'm so buoyed by sort of, I drive around town and I see these signs out on people's front lawns, cheering on frontline workers, healthcare workers, and just the positivity, the group in Amherstburg that are making masks for people. We had the Facebook caremongering page, Justin Bornay, in the RTT today, like, you know, making the ear things for the mass. I mean, so many people are stepping up and doing so many sort of extraordinary things right now that it makes me proud to live in this town and be a councillor in this town. And I think the only thing we can control in life is our reaction to things and our actions. So the fact that people are choosing, you know, hope and positivity now over pessimism and fear, I think that's special. I think Amherstburg proud, or go Aberg, either of those. And just so many ordinary people doing extraordinary things. We're going to get through this and stay positive and stay optimistic. We live in the best town in Ontario, and we're going to get through this.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Donald. Thank you for the words of wisdom. And everyone out there, please stay safe. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below and we can get back to them as well. But thank you for watching another episode on Coffee with Craner. And don't forget, we're still selling these mugs. All proceeds are benefiting the Amherstburg Food and Fellowship Mission. I think we're at almost $400 to them. So be sure to check that out and check out my YouTube channel too. Wow. You could watch the replay for this show there as well. So thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.